our hand in absentia. And now I'd like to introduce our next performer slash reader. His name is Terrence Latimer. And based in 29 Palms, Terrence is a creative technologist with a passion for words. Terrence enjoys simplifying and discussing complex problems through the written word. With a mission and vision of literacy for all, Terrence uses storytelling mediums, including essays, comics, and poignant narratives, to help tell the stories worthy of being told. So let's give a hand for Terrence.
All right, hello everyone. I'm going to read a couple of things that I've written and just some things that are inspiring to me. And let me go ahead and just introduce myself a little bit beyond what Doug said. That was very kind. Thank you. As I approach my 5th year here in the desert, I'm extremely pensive and mindful of the exploration that I've done as a creative. When I first moved here, I wouldn't have considered myself to be a writer, but certainly the wide open spaces and the opportunity to think have sort of reinforced my ability to process and work through some of those complicated emotions that Doug alluded to. Something that I've noticed is that, or at least one of my favorite sayings since I've been here in the desert, is that the desert is full of those who have been deserted, or who are, those who are deserters or who have been deserted. And what I find interesting about that is that you have all of these loners who have, for all intents and purposes, found themselves in community with one another, which is extremely interesting in my opinion. My artistic influences include Richard Wright, Langston Hughes, who I'm going to read, and Octavia Butler. And since I've been in the desert, I've been inspired by Noah Purifoy and my mentor Bernard Hoyes. I love the desert due to its natural flora and fauna, its wide open spaces, and obviously the open desert sky. And so I'm going to go ahead and get us started with an essay, or an excerpt, from an essay I wrote comparing and contrasting the experiences of Noah Purifoy with Dr. King, which has helped me to interpret and navigate the wilds of this desert environment. And so this essay, called Kings of the Desert Wild, was originally inspired by a Dr. King documentary that I saw called King in the Wilderness. So I'll go ahead and get us started. If you haven't already seen it, King in the Wilderness is a documentary you might be interested in. The film explores the final 2 years of Dr. King's life amidst waning influence in the civil rights movement. His adherence to his principles of nonviolence began to morph as he began incorporating aspects of the Black Power movement. Los Angeles and the West Coast were key to Dr. King's legacy, and in my opinion, his response to the Watts riots directly impacted a generation of artists emanating from Los Angeles. Prior to his assassination, Dr. King's final prepared speech, titled "America May Go to Hell," sought to highlight his foundational message of the 3 evils, or the 3 midnights, of racism, poverty, and war. While he continued to abhor violence, in this capacity as icon and translator, communicated the frustration of ignored communities through the lens of riots, looting, and protest. Moving beyond hopes and dreams, he argued, would offer promising paths to those whose plight had been ignored. Artists such as Noah Purifoy and Betty Saar amplify the message and offer opportunities for deeper levels of reflection, analysis, planning, and collaboration through the courage to create. I'm not that expert. And so I have something that I've been mindful of, through my experience here in the desert, has been sort of this reconciliation of language in so many different ways and how that impacts consciousness, and sort of coming to terms with my Western roots ideology, and then as I've sort of come into my own, some of that has been through this lens of exploring Eastern philosophies and ideologies. And so being able to explore both legend, lore, spiritual texts, as well as combining some of those creative influences have been, I would arguably just healing for me as I then sort of consider what it takes to navigate this human condition here in 2025. And so I say all that in that Japanese literature has been really inspiring to me. And so I've got a series of haiku that I'm going to be reading here in a bit. And again, those have just sort of helped me to reconcile my Christian values, as well as, you know, some of the lessons that I've had recently related to Eastern philosophies. Robert Piersing's Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance has heavily influenced some of my thinking, as well as you know, just a great book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, which I believe have influenced my writing style. So this first poem is called, haiku is called Deserted Desert Deserter. And I'm pulling it up right now. All right, Deserted Desert Deserter. Deemed desert dweller, doctrine demanded, deceived, deluded design. This next haiku is called Fight, Flight, Freeze, Freedom. Fought formidably, flexible flight, fleeting foe, fear functions frozen, fundamentally futile. Furthermore, faith feels focus. And this last one is called The Terrible Truth. True, terrible truth, trickster, tyrant, torches trust, tabloid troop travels, twisted tales transform, trap tours, thine title trickles therein. And so, thank you. Thank you. And so just in the spirit, I'm actually just tacking on, I got two more that I'm going to read for you, but inspired by Dr. Blanc, I'm going to read a poem that I loved in high school. I wrote from Mr. Langston Hughes called Cross. And this is Cross by Langston Hughes. My old man's a white old man, and my old mother's black. If I ever curse my white old man, I take my curses back. If ever I curse my black old mother and wish she were in hell, I'm sorry for that evil wish, and now I wish her well. My old man died in a 5 big house. My ma died in a shack. I wonder where I'm gonna die, being neither white nor black. And then my last one here is by the great American writer, author, poet, Jim Harrison. And I'd just like to dedicate this one to my dad. This is called Vows. And Jim Harrison says, I feel my failure intensely, as if it were a vital organ the gods grew from the side of my head. You can't cover it with a hat, and I no longer can sleep on that side, it's so tender. I wasn't quite faithful enough to carry this sort of weight up the mountain. When I took my vows at 19, I had no idea that gods were so merciless. Fear makes for good servants, and bravery is fraudulent. When I awoke, I wasn't awake enough. Thank you.